Good evening, and welcome to another segment of the new Black Leadership Coalition here in the great studios of Intellectual Radio. I am Gregory Sain, the host, sometime the co-host, one of the co-founders of the new Black Leadership. I am humbly thankful, etc., to have this golden opportunity once again to come over these precious airwaves as a member of the new Black leadership community activist, a Black man that won't sugarcoat, water down, or won't scratch where I'm not itching. I am so thankful that God has blessed us with clarity, man, and we draw from so many different leaders from different walks of life, and we respect all of them, and we don't get into cliques and foolishness and not listen to the wisdom that come from so many that have put their life on the line so that we as Black people can have a different reality. So we know whose shoulders we stand on, and we don't come up on these mics or wherever we have a platform thinking that it's all about us and we are the answers to all of people's problems. That's why I'm always beating the heck out of some of these pop-up Negroes who come to the airwaves like they've been baptized by somebody, man. It's crazy. But anyway, the new Black leadership, thank all of you all for your support. And we would like to also say to you all that you could check out the new Black Leadership Coalition website as well as the Facebook page. So make sure you go on the new Black Leadership Facebook page. Anyway, again, I'm thankful to God for our mentors, our ancestors, and let me say real quick, my condolences goes out to Munir Muhammad, brother Munir Muhammad, and the Crow organization. I want to thank them for the work that they're doing and the exposure that they gave to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, keeping his name on the minds of many people. Munir had a show for over, I don't know, 20 some years. He came to me actually when he first got started. Brother wanted to meet with me, and he came over to the Chicago Urban League. Didn't have a show. We were battling on one of them stations on WVON. I used to get on the station and anybody say anything out of their way that it sound like you were not, with the minister or against the messenger or blah, blah, blah. So we became cool with each other. But I was always listening, man. I'm real sensitive to that. But my condolences go out to the brother. Give him credit where credit is due. Everybody should give him credit where it's due. I mean, we could agree to disagree on certain things, but again, nothing but love for the Black man. He did work. Uh, Again, and I want to, my condolences go out to also Lewis Lord. I said that last week, and to Coach Johnson, a great football coach at Dunbar High School, Glenn Johnson. And there's so many people, man. And, one of the things that someone said to me, Brother Harold, and I'm going to introduce our guest. Many of you all know him, but Minister Mike, they were looking at Brother Munir in the casket. And it was Dr. Terry Mason. And Terry said to me, he looked and he said, "Hey, bro, Greg," he said, "all of us got to go that route." He said, "So since we got to go that route, why are we acting like we so damn scared and afraid? And no matter how much money we make, no matter how much fame and fortune we get, all of that stuff is left behind, no matter how big the studio is, no matter how great, whatever is the car, any material stuff, it will be left here and you don't know what the heck is going to go down when you're gone." So I said that to say that we are thankful, but we should not be scared, man. And so I'm sitting here today with none other than my brother, my friend. He is absolutely one who speaks the butt naked, unadulterated, butt naked truth. This man, Brother Harold Davis and crew, Tuesday through Friday from 2 to 4, they on kicking butt all the time, man. The butt naked truth. Brother Harold Davis is in the studio. Brother Harold Davis, what's going on, Brother Harold Davis?
Thank you, brother Greg and brother Mike, for inviting me. I'm a proud of, part of the New Black Leadership Coalition, and always honored, man, when you and Mike asked me to come on.
Let me say this, bro. We are honored to have you, man. Minister Mike, last week and week before, I think you said you were watching the show.
Oh yeah,
And we
I
had
watch every week.
Dr. Kelly
Yeah.
on. And I've been getting so many thanks for having that. Brother Mike, like myself, the minister said to me, and he continues to say to me, he said, you just keep doing your work. You keep doing what you do.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, wow, he makes you feel good to know that, Minister Mike, when he heard Minister Mike speak at our brother's funeral, Brother Charles Box there, I was so excited, but I know what the minister is saying. It's a lot of work that needs to be done out here, man. So don't think you got to be boxed up with some folks to do what you need to do to make a difference. And that's why the coalition is so critical. We understand. We didn't just ask for a bunch of people with one label to come in and meet us in the room. We didn't care what your label is, what your affiliation is, what your religion is, what your organization is, what your fraternity is. None of that matters. What matters is, are you really about liberation for Black people and humanity as a whole? And as we say this, and we're not mad at the guys out here that's faking it, but we do have to check you just to let you know we got eyes on you when you out here playing games with the people, man.
There's too much at stake now. One of the things that I interviewed Chuck, and I didn't know Mike was his nephew. But,
I didn't either, man.
I watched the funeral, and I saw the minister, smiling from ear to ear when Brother Mike was speaking.
Yeah, so was
like
I.
a proud father, and Mike, as Mike always does, profound stuff that that he comes up with. But I asked Chuck. Chuck told me one day on the interview, he said he'd been all over the world. He said, but none of that meant anything. He said the only thing that stood out in his life and he wanted to be remembered for was he stood post in 1967 on the Honorable Elijah Muhammad.
Wow.
I'm like, wow. And here's a guy been all over the world and said that was the thing that meant the most to him. Chuck Barksdale.
You know what was interesting, and we're gonna talk. There's so much to talk about, but one of the things, and I say this, and I ain't gonna go too deep into it, but Minister Mike shared with me, so it ain't like But Mike was always conscious of when the minister is in the room.
Oh yeah.
And he always have the utmost respect for the minister. And Mike wouldn't, if it was up to Mike, the family asked Mike to speak. He didn't know the order. And some kind of way they switched some stuff. And before you know it, Mike was out there speaking. But Mike, even before that, sent messages to make sure that it was okay, even though he didn't have to do that. But he did that in his spiritual protocol. I said spiritual protocol. There's a big difference between spiritual protocol and just somebody just, not understanding how things might appear. So anyway, man, look, I know you've been reading the news, you research, you study all the time. Brother Harold, it's so many things, but the double standard stuff. And it's like they still don't care. It's like we do what we want to do. And that's why people say, hey, man, look, every time you look up, whether it's this organization, the school system, the weed stuff, when it comes to marijuana, it's always race and equity, because this country was founded upon somebody who had a head start. They had a head start, and they don't want to relinquish that power, Brother Harold. So when you look at the double standard, even with this case with R. Kelly, This man walking this dog. Look,
Mm-hmm.
and let me make this perfectly clear for you all.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't have to do this, but I'm doing it because I'm dealing with race and equity. I'm dealing, yes, that brother got a signature. And many of you all didn't even know the man went through what he went through, abused and molested. That's no excuse for his sickness.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, I'm dealing with something like with Sister Kim Fox and how things are happening with her. But this thing with Mr. Jeff Epstein, all of a sudden, R. Kelly might not even be able to make a bond. All the money and all the songs this cat have made and etc. He can't even make a bond. But you were saying, what did the lawyer say?
His lawyer said today in a news conference that they're prepared to drop 100 to 500 million dollars in bail money, and that whatever it is, they can pay it.
How
And
much?
between 100 and 500 million in bail money.
Jeff Epstein.
His lawyer made the plea that though he has two airplanes, he has a passport. His passport has a fake name on it, and it's registered in Saudi Arabia. And so, with his two airplanes, and he had runways on both islands. I mean, he can go to Israel.
Flight risk.
Right? Flight risk. And they said that his lawyer said we're prepared to drop 100 to 500 million dollars in terms of if we have to do that to keep him out of jail. And they're saying they want him on home monitoring. They want him uh, to be on home monitoring, and he can make appointments as long as the court knows about it.
He was
And
getting 12 hours. What was it? 12 hours a
we had a
day?
non-prosecutorial uh, uh, sentence that they came up with in 2007, and what that did was it. He was allowed 12 hours a day outside of the jail.
Damn.
He was living in a wing of the jail where the upper level management stayed at, where the officers were. His limousine picked him up every day. Now the question is, did he even do 13 months there? I mean, and so they wanted him to register as a level 3 sex offender. And even the district attorney in Manhattan, Jennifer Gaffney, argued that his crime was too harsh. I mean,
For a white guy.
yeah, for a white guy.
For a white guy.
And so she argued the point that he shouldn't even have to do that. The question is, Acosta, who resigned, Acosta said that he was given the order from up high that Epstein was of intelligence for the Mossad. And he said that he was told to leave it alone. And so it is a very interesting case. When I can't find anything on him. 1981, he was with Bear Stearns, and he got fired for some ethics stuff, some inside trading stuff. And after that, there's no record of him making any money anywhere.
So where he get his money from?
That's the question. That's what everybody is trying to. In 1973, he took a job at one of the most prestigious high schools in the country, the Dalton Prestigious School in Manhattan, where Ruth Gator, Ben Ginsburg kids go there, Diana Ross kids, all the upper elite children go there. Now the interesting thing about him teaching there was he did not have a college degree, and so there are things that this thing.
It's called white privilege, brother.
No, but the more that I have tried to find information, Steve Coakley trained me, and so Steve trained all of us.
That's
and
right.
So there's some interesting things that there's a correlation of things going on. Like, who you think hired him? William Barr's daddy, Donald Barr. I mean, it goes, man. There's some interesting things with this.
Is that
guy.
right?
William Barr's daddy, Donald Barr, was the taskmaster of that school. Hired Jeff Epstein without a college degree to teach calculus. I don't know how you teach calculus without a college degree. I mean, and so
wow.
And so, but after 1981, there's no record of him making any money. And so I don't know how they're classifying him as this billionaire. I mean, and these hundreds and hundreds of names of the people who Pritchard has two brothers on there. The governor, two of his brothers' name on there. Conrad Black's name is on there. Um,
On what? On what?
on in this black book. And so um, his lawyer made reference today that, well, they want him to deliver the names. Well, who are the names in the black book? I mean, Alan Dershowitz just came out and said, well, I did get a massage, but I didn't take my underwear off. So it's, I mean,
These are the demons,
brother,
bro.
these some sick
These are
people.
the same demons that
These some sick
control
people,
the
Greg.
media,
These some sick people,
Hollywood.
brother.
And so that's why they so afraid of
Hmm.
the honorable brother minister Farrakhan,
Hmm.
because he exposes the truth and the bust up all of this crap. These guys get a pass, period, brother Harold.
Now, mind you, when Epstein started teaching at the Dalton School, it was all girls,
Oh
and it
boy.
was all girls. And then
Oh
Donald Barr,
boy.
William Barr's daddy, promoted to make it co-ed, but his daddy was there for about 10 or 12 years, and he convinced them to go co-ed. But there's no record, man. I mean, the only thing I can find out was this boy Epstein. He's tied into this boy named Lexi 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 Wexner. Leslie Wexner. Now Leslie Wexner owns Abercrombie and Fitch, The Limited. He owns Bath and Body Works. He owns Victoria's Secret. Now this is
Dang.
worth about $6 billion. Now there's some tie into him, as though maybe Epstein was just the front man. But as far as money goes, you can't trace Epstein to no money.
Wow. Is Epstein and Harvey Weinstein, are they connected?
Well, yeah, I guess through Jewish blood. I mean, in terms of, you
I
know,
mean the money.
oh
When you
yeah,
think about this
yeah,
club,
yeah, I would assume,
because when you think
yeah.
about this club that they have, this private
Hmm.
club.
Well, what was interesting, Greg? In 2002, they drafted these charges against him, and they had this black book, and they said they called over 150 so-called Johns in this book, and they said the only person that called back was Donald Trump.
Donald Trump.
The only person that called back and said, "Yeah, it's a lot of little girls over there." I mean, out of
Donald
the
Trump, bro.
only person,
Are you serious?
I'm serious, Greg, the only person who returned the government's phone call
That
in
guy
this
crazy
scandal
for real.
was Donald Trump.
That guy is crazy for
And they
real.
said Donald Trump said he had some beautiful girls and they awful young. But
I'm
but
laughing, but
but
that's a sick cat,
but
man.
Greg, I would venture to say that Trump is the one who in February asked this federal judge to open this case back up. Because the case was opened up in February through a federal judge appointed by Trump.
Interesting.
So I would say that Trump
Interesting.
is the one who's really, while they're talking all this crazy stuff, Trump is the one they saying is out for blood with this boy Epstein. But I
Wow.
think I think the media ought to say that he was the only one that called back. You know.
But
Yeah.
look at R. Kelly. So when you look at this,
Mm-hmm.
you look at the whole criminal criminals
Oh yeah.
justice
Oh yeah.
system,
Oh yeah.
and you think about, I ran into Sister Kim Fox. You
Mhm.
saw
Oh yeah.
her.
We saw.
And,
Mm-hmm.
and the stuff that she's dealing with, right? And a lot of people say, it was a bad move because the guy, he lied, et cetera, et cetera. But she gave him the Hollywood treatment.
Mm-hmm.
She gave him a smack on the wrist that many of them are
Mm-hmm.
privileged
Mm-hmm.
to. All of a
Mm-hmm.
sudden now they want to go by the book
Mm-hmm.
when it comes
Mm-hmm.
to a black person.
Mm-hmm.
But all kind of white folks, do all kind of heinous things. Have any of those people, man, that lied on black men, that they raped them, that they did something to their kids,
Well,
have any of them
well,
gone to jail?
well. Let me say this in reference to R. Kelly. The thing with the non-prosecutorial conviction on Epstein was that those girls were told that none of the Johns that they reported would be prosecuted. none of them could be brought up on charges. Now they didn't tell the girls that, so the girls didn't even know because they were still young that none of the guys who they named in this non-prosecutorial conviction, they could not contact though the names that they brought up were sealed and not open. Nobody could discuss the name, and none of those guys could come up for charges.
They
Now they then
they
went
must
back.
be Catholic priests.
Well, yeah, I mean, but
They
check this out.
they gotta
No,
be
no,
Catholic. They getting the
we
same
gotta
treatment as the
we
Catholic
got we
priests.
got to talk about the Catholic priests. So with R. Kelly, they then went and got what this girl Diane Copeland, this girl named V, this Cash Howard, uh, Daryl, what's the boy's name? His manager, Daryl. I can't think of his name,
Right.
and a couple other. They now Saturday they turned in 20 sex tapes to the feds, and so Michael Avenatti, representing three of the girls, now he's up on charges of fraud, and he had the nerve to have a press conference today on R. Kelly. Now, if they're bringing in these what 20-year charges against R. Kelly because they said the girl that who he ended up marrying who didn't testify against him.
Andrea.
Yeah, Abernathy said today that R. Kelly gave her parents $2 million, and so they're going back saying that he coerced them not to testify. But in Epstein's case, they ain't talking to nobody.
Wow.
And so, you see what I'm saying?
Double standard. Bill
Yeah.
Cosby in the joint. That's why I was so upset, Harold, with Oprah and Gail.
Yeah,
When they did that stupid interview, especially Oprah, that silly chick on Michael Jackson, and here she is hanging around buddies with Harvey Weinstein, hugging him,
hugging them and everything.
etc. But you got
Exactly.
the audacity. That's
Uh,
why so many of you don't know any better, and you just want to beat up. Look, nobody is trying to make excuses for nobody's sin, nobody's sickness, nobody's
no,
crime.
no.
But at the end of the day, we can show where there is a distinct difference in how
Well,
cases are handled,
well,
whether you black or white, rich or poor.
well, in Epstein's case, it was sealed and said they could not question them. In R. Kelly's case, they have now went back and got all the people who they say work for him, and all of them have been investigated by Homeland Security and the FBI. So they went and got 4 or 5 girls who was putting the rooms in their name. They went and got a couple of his managers
Mm.
and a whole other slew of people. But more so than that, whoever these people were turned in 20 tapes Saturday, sex tapes.
Now, did let me ask you this question: Where you Hefner, have you ever been brought up on any charges?
No, not that I know of.
I mean, at the Playboy
Not that I know
Mansion.
of. Not that I know
But
of.
Bill Cosby and all them cats.
Well, Bill Cosby lived right across the street from Epstein. Yeah, they live on the same street, right across the street from each other. And Epstein walking around free. Weinstein is free. Weinstein just settled $44 million last Friday, and and they don't even let you know when he's coming to court. They bring him in the back. They don't even bring him in the front.
Well, it's
And
like
so,
Jason Van Dyke. He didn't even have handcuffs.
so the question going
And
to
he
be
had his hand behind his
right,
back
right,
with nothing on it.
right.
I mean, it's like, look, they have no respect for black
But Greg, the
people.
question is going to be
Zero.
the question is going to be: is Epstein going to be allowed to make bail, and R. Kelly not? I mean,
He's not.
so they're making R. Kelly the poster boy, but let's go to the Catholic Church right here in Chicago. James Sain.The, who had a $40 million retainer from the Catholic Church to represent the archdiocese all over the world. And in the book In the Name of God, which opens up in Chicago, that talks about, see, 40% of pedophile cases are little boys. And so you notice Epstein and Weinstein don't have little boys they're messing with.
Mm.
All the little boys are messed with in the Catholic Church. So this boy, James Sain.The, $40 million retainer, he went around the world showing lawyers how to destroy documents. I mean, right here from Chicago. And he went all over the world showing these lawyers, take this document, destroy this, destroy this, destroy this, destroy this. And so if you notice, The only person that we can even uh, uh, track down to anything is Daniel McCormick. We don't know if he's in jail or not. They say he's in a mental institution. But all these priests
Bam.
that have raped everybody, none of them are in jail. None of them, no, he's not even close to going to jail. And so Victor Nolan and uh, there was two brothers, Kenneth Nolan and Victor and David Nolan. They lived. Their mother gave them to Victor Stewart on 55th and the Dan Ryan St. John Lawanda when they were 11 and 12 years old. She said she could not afford to raise them because she had five other kids, and so they ended up without any
Wow.
clear adoption. She handed these two boys to Victor Stewart. Now Victor Stewart is alleged, and there's a thing called the bishop of accountability, the accountability of bishops for the Catholic Church. You can go in and look and see whose pictures and names on there. It was alleged that Victor Stewart raped over 500 black boys in Chicago on 55th, right there off the expressway.
And where's Vic at?
He's dead, and he died of AIDS. But the problem is, Greg, is that every year Kenneth Nolan and David Nolan went to the Vatican. Well, they had sex inside the Vatican, and in one year when David, I mean Kenneth, there was a marriage ceremony where Kenneth Nolan married Victor Stewart over there in that church. Now there were priests in Chicago that are still alive today that were at the ceremony. Now, so y'all explain that to me. But at the end of the day, 40% of all the pedophilia takes place with little boys. There's no talk of anything in terms of the pedophilia in Chicago by
Wow.
Catholic priests. I mean, Victor Stewart. I mean, brother. I mean, over at St. Procopius on 18th and Blue Island, Fitzpatrick uh, raped the whole family. I mean, their father was killed, Mike, in in this in I think in 71 or 72, accidentally killed and by the police. And so the father, they had five children in St. Procopius, and the nation did a story called "The Sins of the Father," a three-part story, three-part series that tells you about the sample children. And so this boy Fitzmaurice, he goes to the mother, and he says to the mother, "Well, I know your husband has been killed. I mean, a young man, they had five kids at 20 something years old. And so I know you can't afford to pay tuition. I'm going to let the kids go for free." None of them knew that the priest had raped all four of the boys and raped the little girl. And Alicia Sample,
Mm,
she
mm,
was
mm.
raped regularly. I mean, and so it had got so crazy that they had blocked this stuff out so crazy, Greg, that Fitzmaurice had the little boys having sex with each other. And if you read the article, Alicia Sample was taken out of class every day to have sex with Fitzmaurice, to have sex with any priest that was up there. But more so than that, the building is still there. They didn't tear it down.
You know what this remind me of? The movie The
Oh
Untouchables.
yeah,
So when you think about they are it appears that they are untouchable
oh yeah.
and that they have no way. Who's going to prosecute them? I
Well,
mean, what they just go on through life. But yet in Chicago, you mentioned Chicago, right?
with all
Here, aldermen.
the book in the name of God starts, and the story starts in Chicago.
But Harold, but here are aldermen that
Hmm.
does some silly little transactions,
Oh yeah,
couple of grand here, a couple of grand.
yeah,
They go right to jail.
exactly. Over some nonsense.
Is that a
I mean,
distraction
even this
from
stuff
all of this other
that
stuff?
somebody put some stuff out that said Pat Dow took $20,000. Well, you know what it was, Greg. If you read the documents, the developers, they gave her three checks, and it was donation. And two of the developers, um, they sponsored a fundraiser for her, which they do that all the time.
Right.
Developers who just happens to be dead sent an invoice in. The CHA said that they owe him $20,000 because he made a donation to Pat. Well, they had nothing to do with Pat. And so this developer, CHA had $130 million tied into that building. So this developer, they supposed to be taking the money down,
Right.
and the donation should have never went in there. So it was a mistake that the donation went in there 4 years ago, and you got people running around here talking about Pat Dow did something. Pat ain't did nothing. I mean,
But that
so
goes to show
yeah,
you
Pat
they
ain't did nothing.
quick to
Yeah.
condemn black
Oh
folks.
yeah.
But then here is, I mean, we talking about man, these other criminals, bro,
Well,
that they're not gonna
let's get the
go to
Catholic
jail.
Church, since they going back on R. Kelly and all the co-conspirators. Let's go find the co-conspirators who are alive right now, who knew this stuff was going on,
That's right.
and
That's
let's go
right.
get them too. Since we
That's right.
locking everybody up, because where's the justice for them?
There's no
I
justice,
mean,
bro. There's
one
no
of the things in the
justice.
book, Mike, it says that as soon as they brought charges up on these priests, the police would visit them the next day, and the police would say, you better not show up in court. I mean, beat some of these little boys up, man. And so, and then
It's a ring, isn't it, man?
they're like when Daniel McCormick was studying to be a priest in Saint Benedictine, right? There were allegations there with him because every weekend they would take little black boys into Saint Benedictine for camp. So every Friday night they would go play basketball, stay there to Sunday. Well, Daniel McCormick, while he was in the studying to be a priest, the charges came up then. And guess what? Cardinal George did what? Let it go. So where they put McCormick? They sent him to St. Albie, his first assignment.
So are you saying they come to the black community after?
I'm gonna tell you what happened in St. Albie. Charges came up. He left St. Albie. Cardinal George sent him to Precious Blood. What happened to Precious Blood on Western and Congress? Little boys, charges came up. He left Precious Blood and went to St. Agatha. What happened to St. Agatha? Charges came up. 97% of the time, from their own statistics that they handed Philip Aaron, a statistician, Mike, 97% of the time when they were brought up on charges, they sent them to another black parish.
Wow. And Harold, they know this stuff.
Yeah, they know.
And I guess they look at our community and say we too busy watching Empire
Oh yeah.
and Scandal and foolishness while they do whatever the hell they want to do.
All I'm
And then they
saying.
got the audacity, man, to take an honorable man like the minister
Oh, exactly.
and these clowns and say he got to be off Facebook, off Twitter,
Yeah.
and you got these other cats right here,
But
real criminals though, man.
But
Damn.
look how the things have happened, how the chain of events have taken place since they decided to take the minister off Facebook. But what I'm saying, if R. Kelly is gonna be the poster boy, then them damn priests ought to be right there with him. Because these little boys, man, Mike, 40, 50, 60 years old, some of them committed suicide. Some of them about 70% of them are drugged on alcohol. They've never recovered, man. And all this took place in Chicago. I mean, Philip Aaron represents 100 victims. And what Cardinal George told them victims, he met with them. He said, I ain't going to settle none of your cases until you get rid of your lawyer. Who says that? I mean, why would he tell them to get rid of Philip Aaron? I mean, we couldn't find nobody in Chicago to represent them. We couldn't find one black lawyer to work with Philip.
Wow.
Because they were afraid of the consequences of working with the archdiocese. I mean, what black preacher in Chicago have you seen did a press conference on the archdiocese?
I don't know one.
Name one.
I don't know one. And that's why, brother, I thank you, Harold, for that information, because folks don't know. And those who do know don't say, and those who say don't know. And so what you end up having is misdirection.
Exactly.
They have what they have on the front of the newspapers.
Exactly.
We don't know that you need to know that you got to go and study. And then the most unfortunate thing, though, that really bothers me more than anything, Brother Harold, on many of the so-called black radio stations, etc.,
Mm-hmm.
you don't get this information.
No.
I mean, they got so many commercials. By the time they come back, you thrown off of what the hell
Well,
they was just
but
talking
but
about.
but if justice is
I
going
mean,
to
you
be
don't even remember what they was talking about. And
yeah,
by the time they come back on, they spend what? How many minutes they really get for talk time?
28 minutes for every hour, 32 minutes of news and advertisements. So if you own a straight hour, it's really 2 hours for you because they only get 28 minutes per hour. So that's
Wow.
you know
And
so
I
yeah.
said that I brought that up because when we listened to you and you mentioned Brother Steve Coakley and the divine research, and this is not racism.
No,
This is
no,
facts.
no,
This is information
no.
that people need to know. So whereas you make the cat the poster child, then you should be as mad
That's
and you
right.
should be as upset
That's right.
with this, more upset with
But
this. Go back to Harvey. No, no, no. Go back to this cat that you said was accused of fraud. He's the
Michael Avenatti,
yeah.
who's representing 3 victims against R. Kelly, he had a press conference today. Now he's facing
Damn.
jail time. He stole $5 million
Damn.
from a client, and he got some fraudulent stuff. Then he tried to get Nike he tried to gangster them. Why would he be having a press conference as though he ain't going to jail? I mean, the nerve of him. That dude should be sitting down somewhere preparing his own case. But at the end of the day, like you said, Greg, and
Is that mentality, man? It's so pervasive. I mean,
at the end of the case, there at the end of what we're saying, Eddie Long was raping black children, black boys. And when Eddie Long charges were
you
brought up
talking about
on,
Johnny Long from Atlanta?
yeah, Eddie Long, yeah,
Okay.
Eddie Long from Atlanta, and when the charges came up on those 4 boys, Eddie Long had been doing it for years, and so he had these houses on the campus where the church was, where these boys stayed in the houses. They were teenagers, and their mothers thought that they were in a safe environment, just like Victor and Kenneth and David Nolan. Mother thought she was giving them to the priests, to keep them out of gang activity. And so these boys that Eddie Long raped, when they came before the congregation, the black the people sitting there listening, they were still shouting. They still run them down the aisles as though Eddie Long didn't do nothing. And the excuse was God is going to be the ultimate judge. Where's the justice for those children? I mean,
And
where's the justice for the black boys who have been suffering under priest pedophilia and been raped by priests in Chicago, and none of them have got any justice? Where's it at? And so you're gonna tell me that I should be watching R. Kelly and Epstein and these guys, and but the Catholic Church gets a pass in Chicago for what they've done and what they continue to do?
and then Harold, isn't that the case for everything when it comes to justice or injustice? How some things are totally handled totally different.
Name one black preacher that has stood and spoke out against it. Name one in Chicago. You can't
I
name
don't
one.
know one.
You can't
But
name one.
then when you look at, when you talk about the 5 zip codes and all of the mess that's going on in the black community
Well, that's all
and
the
all
rapes
this,
took place.
yeah.
Yep. In the 5 zip codes in North Lawndale, Roseland, Inglewood, Austin, and West Humboldt Park is where those 97% of those rape cases that came out of the Catholic Church, 97% of the time they sent them to one of those zip codes again. Case in point, McCormick, St. Albie, Precious Blood, St. Agatha. 3 black parishes.
Damn, and those 5 zip codes, bro, seem like the worst of the
Oh,
worst
it is.
happens
It
in.
is.
I
I
mean,
mean,
everything from
everything happens.
crime to
All the
poverty to
yeah, the highest
rape
murder rate,
to
highest unemployment rate,
molestation,
the highest
dropout
murder,
rate,
shooting.
murder.
Everything happens in those 5 zip codes.
Yesterday, I went over to they have jazz on 31st Street Beach
Mm-hmm.
over there at Pier 1, 30, whatever they call it,
Mm-hmm.
Pier 31st or 31st Pier, whatever they call
Mm-hmm.
it. I went over there.
Okay.
And do you know they had the whole thing blocked? All the all the vacant, empty spots where you could park.
Mm-hmm.
And so I got on the telephone and called Fred. Well, I said, Fred, who is the chief of patrol? I said, why are you all handling black people like this, and you got all these spots. I went over to the car first
Mm-hmm.
and spoke with him, a white guy. Now you on 31st Street. They got you blocking where people can't go and park their cars. They got to go blocks and blocks, walk with all kind of stuff, right? And he goes, the commander, this is an order from the commander. I said, but what's the point? And then one of the guys said, well, there was some shooting up here. Someone got shot. Hell, they get shot all over the city.
Yeah,
I said they get shot up north, but do you do them like this? And bro, different rules, and we allow
go
anything without
go to
challenging the mess,
go to
man.
Oak Street Beach. There's a black police officer that works there on the weekend, and the yachts are parked 100 in this row, another 100 this row, 50 this way, 70 this way. They're parked where you can go from yacht to yacht, just walk over yacht to
The
yacht.
party for them,
And
brother.
guess what? The police, Chicago police has a boat out there. The what you call that? The people you call when somebody drowning. The Coast Guard has a boat
Right.
out there. And guess what? Take the reader and read what the reader said. You can get Molly, you can get heroin, you can get cocaine, you can get everything you want on the water. All you gotta do is walk from boat to boat to boat, and they're lined up, so they have their parties. So you see 50 yachts lined up this way, another 60 going this way, 100 going that way, and they go from boat to boat with all the drugs they want. And they showed the police sitting in one boat, the Coast Guard in another boat, and state police in a boat, and nobody's arrested
Ain't that
because
crazy, bro?
and,
But
and they falling out from overdosing and everything,
drunk,
bro.
just like they
And
do
nobody is being arrested.
at Lollapalooza, the same
Nobody's
thing.
being
But
arrested.
Harold, check this out. I said, why don't we have any of the traffic control people? You got all this traffic, right? You know what he said? They ain't not paying any money. They not paying any money.
Well,
So
Oak
they
Street,
don't have enough money. This is not for poor people. That service
mhm.
is for folks who pay money. Man, I cannot believe how blatant, but they doing this because we are asleep, mentally dead, sleep,
I asked the
busy
guy.
beating up on each other while folks do whatever they want to
I asked the
us,
guy
man.
that works there on the weekend, Chicago police. I said, so what do you do? He said, I don't do nothing but sit here. He said, they on the water doing what they do. It costs $30 to park up in there though. But he said they're on the water. So if you got the police got a
You got
boat out,
money, brother.
you got Coast Guard got a boat out there, you got state got a boat out there, and all of this getting high from boat to boat, any drug you want is going on, and nobody's being arrested.
Harold, give us some information too on this whole thing with the marijuana. Because
Oh,
that is absolutely
well,
a travesty in terms of even the governor and how he's tied into this.
his family has $38 billion invested across the country.
How many?
38 billion. The Pritzker family across the country. And so
And we
and we, yeah. I mean, so
reefer.
I was told 3 years ago by a white guy who's in the business. He said, "Hey, Pritzker gonna run for governor." I said, "Why?" He said, "Because his family is invested in marijuana and they want to make Illinois recreation, biggest day." And so the problem is Toy Hutchinson and all them who are down there dancing and singing and run them down the aisles, and we got recreation marijuana. Well, the licenses that are going to be distributed. First of all, the application fee is $100,000.
Who?
$100,000, non-refundable. So what they're telling us as black people say, well, go get 20 people, y'all get $5,000 a piece. So the loss ain't that harsh if you lose. And so, but here's the other. I mean, so you already know that if you don't have $100,000 non-refundable, and who has that kind of money to put up and say that if you don't get the license, guess what? You don't get the money back. And so, but what people don't understand is that the 55 dispensaries right now they're owned by 55 white men. They're going to get the first crack at the new licenses.
The what?
The first crack.
55
55
dispensaries are owned
dispensaries are
by.
owned by white men in Illinois. They're going to get the first crack at the new dispensaries. So how do you get in the game? I mean, it's almost impossible unless they say they take a guy like Larry Huggins and say, come on over here, you do pass through stuff, so we make you part owner. And but I don't even hear them saying that. I mean, so but more so than that, Greg, there's a $46 billion capital improvement for roads and highways, road builders.
How much?
46 billion for capital improvement. Nobody's saying anything about it. And then, but more so than that, the video poker games. They made $6 billion last year. Three companies. Now these three companies had 55 operators too. So the question is, were the marijuana operators the same ones operating the games?
Good question.
And these 55 companies, Mike, made on an average of $320 million in the last 4 years. Now, the people who wrote the gaming rules, guess what? They're the ones that now are working for the gaming people.
Damn.
What's the boy ran for governor?
Damn.
What's his name? Is it Bradley? And you don't have to disclose how much you make. And so then one of there's a state rep, his son, I think it's Munoz. I think I'm not sure. And the only black person that can be traced to anything with the video poking was Deborah Sims.
That's it.
That's it. Nobody else can be traced out of the 32. She's the only one that had some contact as a consultant to them.
So we don't have no vanguards
No.
whatsoever.
$6 billion of video
Right.
poker. Who knows how much money for marijuana? 46 billion for roads and tollway. And where are black people in the equation? Nowhere. So while they hopping and jumping up and down,
brother.
talking about a budget, and all of this money is sitting right here, marijuana, video poker, and all. Now video poker, they said there are 26,000 video poker games in Illinois right now. That's more than Las Vegas.
Wow.
And these three companies, Greg, made all of this money. And
so do we have a list of who they are?
Oh yeah, I got the names of who they are.
I knew that.
I got the names, and I got the names of who they are.
Harold, bro, all under our nose.
All under the 32 people that look like us that are sitting in Springfield. I mean, you would think that at some point somebody would have said, we want video poker games in the black community and we want them to be ran by black operators. That's not a crime.
No.
It's not a crime.
Why should we have somebody else operating out? Look, brother, that is a travesty. That's why we in the condition we in.
Exactly.
We got everybody from somewhere else selling us, doing this, doing that, and they doing it right at the approval or not disapproval of black elected officials.
The institutions and organizations that sit in the oppressed communities for the black people in Chicago are the ones that are taking advantage of the least of these.
I rode around Washington Park, brother, Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
And I swear to you, man, it really disturbed me. I did not see hardly any black folks playing sports.
Oh, no.
I mean, I thought it was the University of Chicago had bought, I think they do own it, or everything around it. If they were playing soccer, they had frisbee, and there was no black folks in Washington Park.
No, brother.
You can count the few little softball 16-inch.
One better go to Douglas Park. See how many you see over there. They're not over there either. No, they got a brand new soccer field right there on Ogden and Albany.
So this thing is so real, man, of what's happening to black people, man. And
you can't be mad. The Hispanics are there's a couple of Hispanic companies that have $200-300 million contracts with the tollway. You can't be mad at them because they're doing the work.
That's right.
The problem with us is you got Johnny Bonds, you got Moment and Brown, you got Powers and Sons, and you got Ujama. Those are the four construction companies that are allegedly black that have.
Did you say allegedly?
Allegedly black, but have these contracts or these joint ventures where you don't see any black people. I was in a room with Jimmy Akintinye and Ernest Brown, and they got angry with me because they said they didn't have enough work to hire any black people. And I said to Jimmy, on your website, you said you got $1 billion of projects that you're doing right now.
Right.
So how would you not hire black people? Why would you say you don't have any work? You have your name on $1 billion in projects right now on your website. So that's the most economic violent thing you can do to your community is become a pass-through operation. And you looked at those four companies, they own the Obama project. Anything you see in Chicago, you're going to see those four pass-through companies.
Now the Obama project, just bringing that up, I know that I think it's like 4 or 5 people. How much money do they make? I think it's
I mean, the fact of the matter
they
is,
making millions, brother. Is it anybody black? I think it's one black man.
well, those four names are on the construction contract.
Damn.
But the problem is, will they do any work? See, the Hispanic companies are doing the work. So they're building capacity. I mean, you look up a guy cutting your grass 10 years ago, he had a little truck. Now he got an
Right.
Escalade. And he got 10 people cutting grass with him. And everybody on the block getting their grass cut. And the problem is, like SB Fuller said, you don't get discriminated against because of your skin color. He said you get discriminated and disrespected because you don't have anything to sell.
Ooh. Teach, boy. Sound
You
like
got
the
nothing to sell.
messenger, boy.
You ain't got nothing to sell.
That's the messenger.
Yeah.
That's SB Fuller. And who else was like that? It was somebody else, brother. He had that same mindset.
Reggie Lewis from who bought the Beatrice Foods
Right.
with their own money. I mean, Reggie Lewis didn't have any money. He
Mm.
started selling their assets off and purchased their company. I mean, the book "Why Should White Guys Have All the Fun?" Man, you got to get that book. He got into Harvard Law School and was never accepted. But when he got before the board of directors to do a mock trial, they were like, "Who is this dude?" They never even asked wait because he was a C student, and his professors told him, "Man, you ain't gonna get in Harvard," and he didn't get in. But he somehow finagled his way in to get before the board of directors to do a mock trial. At 40 years old, he didn't have any money, and so what he did,
Wow.
he bought the old buttery company, the pattern company that you just see them patterns where grandmom they used to sew from.
Right.
He bought that for $1 million, sold it for 80 million the next year. John Johnson was so angry with him that he made a pledge to never ever put him in ebony or jet. So didn't black kids have the right to know the first black billionaire should have been in ebony and jet?
Oh, absolutely,
But
brother.
because John Johnson was angry because he beat him to the punch, John Johnson made a pledge that he would never go on ebony or jet. What kind of
Wow.
nonsense was that? Because it was SB Fuller that saved John Johnson. SB Fuller had to save him. And in 1963, SB Fuller spoke at the National Manufacturers Association, and he made that statement that black folks are not discriminated against because of their color. They're discriminated against because they have nothing to sell. The Urban League, NAACP, and SNCC staged a national boycott against him. The black people,
The Negroes.
the Negroes. He was in 38 states, Mike. In 1945, the man made $18 million, the richest black
Wow.
man in America. And they staged a boycott against him. He almost lost his company because they staged a boycott against him. He had 5,000 employees, 1,500 were black. I mean, 1,500 were white. The white people didn't even know they was working for him.
Damn,
He
man.
created more millionaires. Guess who
Wow.
came out of his organization?
Who?
Mary Kay.
Is that right?
She gives the pink Cadillacs. In the 40s and 50s, he was giving the black Cadillacs. I mean, he made millionaires just off one thing. Everybody got to use some soap. Everybody got to have some toilet paper. You might as well sell it to your own people.
That's right.
Knocked on the door. How much soap you want? And when you look at they showed I got his book. They got a picture of him in the
I got to get that book.
on
What book was that?
63rd.
Not, before you leave, what book was that? Before you forget, rather.
SB Fuller.
No, it was something you said I got to get.
In the
The
name of
fun. No, it's, white guy should. not
why
be-
should white guys have all the fun?
Okay.
Reggie Lewis, not the basketball player.
Right.
The
Oh no, the
Beatrice
basketball
Foods.
player probably broke.
No, he died. Remember?
Right, right. But
Yeah,
I'm just
but
saying,
people
most of the
thought-
basketball players.
But Reggie Lewis,
You can't
why
get
should white
nothing
guys
from
have
them.
all the fun? I mean, when you read that book, Greg, and Mike, at 42 years old, he didn't have any money. I mean, he was broke.
So Harold, when you look at how do we move from where we are? We got a couple of minutes left. How many
Okay.
minutes? About 5 minutes. Wonder. So tell our audience what is it that you see we need to do, knowing
Well,
all of this other crap, the pass throughs, you know, all of that
well,
stuff,
you
which is
can't have
crazy. What do we need to
you,
do when you look at just the not just the plight of black people, but economically, what do we need to do to fix this,
well,
man? What can happen?
you can't have politics without ownership. You can't say that in 1968 we had 400 black politicians. In 2019 we got 14,000. You can't say that you can have politics and that all the power lies in the ballot if there's no ownership. You don't have any
So
ownership.
why are the so-called democratic so it's so unintelligent, or is it deceitful that you keep selling black people that? Because the minister said, he laid it out, politics without economics
Mm-hmm.
is
The
symbol
symbol without
without
substance. Right,
substance.
right,
So
right.
the democratic machine, when you look at
Mm-hmm.
just the political landscape, Brother Harold,
Mm-hmm.
who have something in place where black people can, there's a door open economically. Where do we need
Well,
to be?
black politics and activism without black ownership and control over the primary sources of where you live and where the property you own the property where you live, you have wealth, you control the organizations, and if you don't do that, then it's really a recipe for powerlessness, because people, the
Mm.
pursuit of political office and the ballot box as primary sources of power by the black community and its politicians without its commitment to ownership.
So how do we get black people? Thank you, man, for that. That's wise.
Mm-hmm.
Because we stuck with the social media. We're not making any
Oh
money
no,
from
you
it.
didn't make no money nowhere. 85% of every trend that's trending in the world starts in the black community. Free advertising, we do it. 85% of everything that's trending in the world starts in the black community. They
My
want to get some
Lord.
clothes out, put them on them. Whatever they do, Greg. The Essence Music Award, the Nielsen report used to go around the country. Now they go to one spot. They go to the Essence thing
The
where all the
music, yeah,
women
yeah,
are.
yeah.
They say 100,000 black women. They do the surveys there. Black women have more education than anybody in the world. They buy more luxury cars than anybody in the world. They buy more designer stuff than anybody in the world. They spend more money than anybody in the
I
world.
know they
And
buy
they
more
control
weave than anybody on the planet.
85% of every dollar in the black community
Well, one day,
is
let me
controlled
throw that in.
is controlled by black women. And
Wow.
so every ethnic group in the world, Greg, is the empowerment of the men who are there. Why is it that they spend so much time making sure that the black male is not empowered? I mean, and so you do it through social service agencies. I mean, how you can't get no
So
power out of that?
how is the playing field ever going to be even, brother?
Well, people are going to have to.
Reparation, when you hear this whole stuff about reparation, that seems to be a joke. I
Yeah.
mean,
Well,
everybody just.
that's the carrot the Democratic Party is dangling for the election. That's what they
So is Trump, real quick before you leave, is Trump going to win again?
if the election was today, 67% of the people would vote for
Damn.
him. Yeah,
So what about the two black candidates?
Kamala lock up black men and black women. I mean, check
That's
her
her
record.
record,
Check
right?
her record. She locked up black women for truancy because of their children, and in most cases the children were ill. And one girl that they focused was she had sickle cell anemia and missed all the days she missed in school was because she was in the
So
hospital.
why black people so psyched up about? I did Barack Obama really just put the black people to sleep so much that all a Negro have to do is sound like they come from Harvard or Yale, and they light skin, and they sound like they can fit in, because ain't nobody real black
Even Mike,
ran for president
even the
yet.
cases, Greg, where they that those brothers didn't do anything, she would not let those cases back in court.
Miss Harris,
Miss Harris, she said, let the niggas stay in jail.
what is she? Is she black, or her
Her
mom?
father is a Jamaican. Her mother is from India.
What about Cory Booker?
Well, I don't think he has
Yeah.
a chance. I mean,
Yeah. So Trump wins again. What
oh,
about
hands
this
down.
the clown? What they said Elizabeth Warren might be the only one that have a
Well, you know
chance.
what? If you listen to
What
her,
about racist Joe? Racist Joe.
Who? Biden? Oh man, please. Right? You know
That's
Biden. You know Biden was the architect of the crime bill for Clinton.
yes.
628,000
But
black
guess
men
what he
went to
did?
jail.
You did see the show that I had, and then he brings his butt here and go and hug Reverend Jackson.
Oh man. I
He gets
mean,
in trouble and he goes over to the Push convention and go. But for 8 years, Jesse couldn't
didn't
even get
say
in the
nothing. Couldn't
White
get in the
House.
White House.
For 8 years.
But
Didn't
Greg,
even let him through the back door.
Elizabeth
But
Warren
he
went
can
over
come
there.
to your convention and hug you.
Elizabeth Warren went over there, and they said after she got through speaking, she said she was kind of disappointed. Only 50 people out there.
Huh?
There was only 50 people that pushed. She said she was disappointed. I mean, Sharpton and Jesse have no relevancy in politics for the black community, and white people haven't found that out yet. I mean,
I think they know,
what? I mean,
but I think what
when you
they
look out in the field and see who you see,
but
and
Harold,
them the only two you see.
but Harold, I think they know, and as long as they could say, look, we did ask.
Like you said, he was
I
out.
think they
He
know.
couldn't get in the White House, and all of a sudden they all come in here to kiss the ring. Kiss the ring for what?
What ain't no doggone well, man, that the brothers. I mean, that's why I keep beating up on Sharpton, because every time I look at that picture and see that he was almost sitting in Jesse's lap at
When the
Aretha
ministers,
Franklin's
oh
funeral,
man,
he didn't want to sit next to the minister. You call
They
yourself
didn't even look that way.
right, and
I
talking
mean,
about
they
he had something for Eric Garner. You know, I mean, what a real con man. And I know some of y'all like Sharpton. I don't.
well, remember
That's your
the
business, because
report.
I think he is
Oh,
absolutely
yeah, come
the
on, man.
epitome of
Exactly.
despicable character.
Remember the stuff that was just let out, the FBI report on King. They said Ernest Withers was one of 5 spies. So who are the other 4? They didn't name him.
Oh boy, how much time we got left now?
He was one
We
of
got
5.
to.
He was one of 5. So the
Harold,
question
you got to
is,
come back,
who are the
folks.
other 4?
Share this show. The new black leadership. Thank you, Minister Mike. Minister
Thank
Mike
you,
be
brother
going
Mike.
out there as fired up as Mike
And you
is.
know what?
He going to get
What's
together.
when Barney Muhammad came up to us, Mike. He said, "Man," he said, when Mike was 17 years old,
Yeah, he sure
they
did.
couldn't do nothing with him. He
No,
said they didn't know what to do with him.
at 17.
He said the minister suggested send him to California, but
So-
Barney Muhammad said we got to go back and put Mike where he's supposed to be.
Bro, when I heard him over at the final call, I'm older than Mike, and I heard him speak. I
Then
was like,
Barney
damn,
said,
who is this kid?
What did Barney say? What did Barney say? What did Barney say?
Yeah,
He said we got to go get
that's what
Mike
he said.
and put him in his rightful place.
Yeah, but all praise is due to the Creator.
Yes, sir.
And we thank you all for listening. Please share this show, the New Black Leadership Coalition. Brother Harold, Butt Naked Truth.
Tomorrow.
Tuesday through Friday. Tomorrow, catch him at 2 o'clock. Truth Radio.
Thank you, brother. Great, brother Mike. Appreciate it.